Hello, welcome to Pre-Primary Resources. I'm Liz Nolasco, and I'm here with Bethany Corrie,
Hi.
whose name and voice you might recognize from the Homegrown podcast, also on the Early Childhood Network. And we're here to talk about screen time. So, Bethany, we're currently on screens. What's your
Yeah.
take on screen time?
Um, I before I was a mom was more anti-screen time, and now that I'm a mom, I'm more screen time happens.
Yes. Are there any shows or apps or anything that's like fully off the table at your house?
Um, so for shows, it's usually just shows that I don't like. Like I
Mhm.
don't like Blippi. So my house is a no Blippi household, except for that means that's the only thing my son wants to watch. Um, so pretty much, I mean, I make the decision if it's age appropriate, um, or for my child. Um, and uh, we had like sort of a deep YouTube dive,
Hmm.
um, where like YouTube was happening a lot, and um, we really noticed my son's behavior change
Hmm.
when he watches YouTube. And it doesn't really matter what it is on YouTube. Um, so we've sort of limited that. Like there's a couple of shows that he still likes, and we'll watch if they have like a new episode of that
Mhm.
show, but we don't like give free range on YouTube. Um,
Super
but
interesting. I wonder, do you think it's like length or media quality or any particular
I
aspect of
think
it?
it's the like the even if you watch, so he really likes Peppa Pig.
Hmm.
And if anybody's in the Peppa Pig world, Peppa's mom just had a baby, Evie. And we can only watch those new Peppa Pig episodes on YouTube. But they don't play like the whole episode like they would on a streaming service. They sort of just like cut in scenes, even on like the Peppa Pig channel. So it's like you're only getting snippets of an already short show. So it's more of that scrolling,
Right.
like dopamine hit type thing. Um, and so we think that's sort of what is causing it. I mean, I don't really know. That's just like our best guess.
Oh,
Or like he also was really into like videos where they show toys, like unboxing type
mhm.
videos. Um, and there's one that we didn't mind where like the guy would sort of like play with these toys and set up like scenes and play out like without words, just play out scenes. And that was fine. But then that led to other channels that would be more like kids playing with toys and sort of perpetuating that greedy, I need more things in my life. um,
Yes. Yeah, that's one of the ones that's banned in my house is the Ryan's World unboxing. Like anything that has
oh, yeah.
unboxing in it is not
Yeah.
allowable
We,
here.
thankfully, yeah, we haven't seen Ryan's World, but we've seen ones like that.
Mhm.
And, um, and I really don't like the exploitation of kids on YouTube and social media and things like that. And so um, there is one show with a kid that we like. Um, I don't know if we're naming things. It's called Kids Crew. And it's just like a dad really likes fixing ride on cars.
Yep. Yeah, we've seen a couple episodes of that.
Yeah. And Francis is really into that. And so, like, that one doesn't seem as bad. Like, uh,
Mhm.
I think that one's like a slower pace show, too. And I don't know. I don't know what it is, but yeah, mostly it's just if we like it, we'll watch it. And if we don't, we won't.
Right. Yeah, it's similar here. I think there was the category of show that you didn't mention that is forbidden here is the ones where it's kids playing without any kind of verbal interaction. Their only interaction is with the camera, not with each other. Like Diana and Roma, I think, is one of those. Or like
Oh,
um, there are several shows, and I don't purport to know anything, but they tend to have Slavic names. And I think the reason they're not talking is because their native language is not the one that they're being broadcast in.
right. Yeah,
Um, so there's this very odd dynamic, but it's captivating for kids,
it
and
is. Yeah.
it is unsettling as an adult.
Yeah.
Um,
And we've had to have a lot of conversations about like, so like Kid Crew, they obviously are sponsored by Brooder, which is a
mhm.
very expensive truck, like toy company. And so Francis is like, I want that. I want that. And we have to have these conversations of like, like they get these things for free, like they're advertising for them. This is a commercial. And trying to explain that to a 4-year-old is kind of difficult. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I don't know. I feel like with the internet now, it is just so wild out there for kids. And I even just last night at pickup, it was a Friday night. And I don't know why I specified the date because it doesn't really matter. Um, one of the moms, we were talking about, I don't know how we got talking about, but um, her son's really into space and likes watching videos about planets and the solar system, things like that. And another mom was like, well, how do do you put like YouTube controls on? Like, how do you monitor this? And she's like, I just watch the videos with him. Like, especially on YouTube, there's really no way to guarantee what your child is watching. Um,
Had the
and
wildest YouTube oh, sorry, I'll let you finish. Then in that vein, I had the wildest YouTube experience.
yeah,
But sorry, was there more? I didn't mean to jump in.
no, no, that's fine. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I just kind of, I got lost.
No, no. So I do the same thing. If it's on you, just about anything, I will. I'm not a perfect parent. I'll call it 80% of the time in the same room. If it's YouTube, it's 100% of the time.
Yeah,
And there was one fully unrelated to history or the US or anything, but the host out of nowhere was talking about building really big. He goes, it's like manifest destiny. Just keep building. And I paused it. I was like, hold on. You're 5, but you're learning what manifest destiny was and why it is not a positive comparison to anything you should be doing.
yeah, yeah. I remember back like almost 20 years ago, um, when I first started in family childcare, and a little boy, he was a school age boy, and he came in and he was talking about how he was on YouTube. And at the time, like YouTube was new. I don't really know when it came out, but that was, I feel like early-ish days of, and he was like, yeah, I just like, I can watch. And he would just tell me all these things that he was watching on YouTube. And I was like, wait a minute, like you're
Yeah.
7 years old. How do you have this access to the internet? Um, and I feel like still it's like it's the same. I mean, there's even more access to it now. And it can just, I mean, screen time is, I feel like, necessary as as a parent sometimes. Especially like my son is an only child, and so like I don't get a break of, I'm just imagining that parents who have more than one child, they get a break when their children play lovely together without issue.
Happens.
Does it? Um, yeah, but
Yeah.
it can be scary.
Yeah. No, I think so. I think you're hitting on kind of when I was thinking about this episode and trying to figure out where to go with it, right? I was looking at what are the primary concerns,
Hmm.
right? And so most of what was coming up was speech and language concerns. Anecdotally, I've seen a lot of people who say that excessive screen time is causing autism, and shockingly, there's nothing to confirm that I was able to find that's backed by research. But there is some association that people have found between children who have autism and their screen time. There's a lot of there's a general idea that there are children who it helps them to tune out what's outside and unpleasant, right? So
Right.
sometimes it can be regulating, right? To have this kind of quieter retreat from the everything else. Um, but it's mostly that speech language, emotion regulation, and then attention span, right? Everyone's likes to blame the school age attention span on too much screen time, right? Their lack of
Right.
being able to sit and persist through something on screen time. But I think you also hit on the ubiquity of it, right? It feels like banning screen time is kind of like saying they can't go to the library because there are Playboys in the adult section of the library, right? But we need, you're not going to ban the whole library because there is content that's not suitable for your
Right.
child. You're going to monitor what they're doing and be with them.
Yeah.
But then we get into, okay, well, who's doing this labor?
Yeah.
What's involved in this? Who's fighting it? And,
Yeah.
shockingly, women's labor and capitalism returns. And right back where we started.
Exactly. It's always what it
Uh,
comes.
exactly. Okay. Sorry, my in-laws just picked up my elder child, which is why there was the sunscreen and water bottle debacle earlier. And I just saw their car and I was not sure if they would be contacting me to meet me, but they're going, so
Good.
we're good. Um, so I was looking into what what body research there is for any kind of screen time, right? And so it goes back to the 70s. So we're looking at, Sesame Street and
Mhm.
the advent of children's television. And shockingly, very mixed opinions back then, right? There was this idea that it was very overstimulating for children or it was turning them into zombies, right? That was prevalent from the very start of
Right.
TV. And it seems like there's also been this back and forth between, well, it's better for children to have interactive media like video games and apps, or is it better for them to have something that they have less control over, like TV?
Mm.
I don't know if you've seen that swing kind of in parent opinions over the years too, because it definitely, I was surprised to see it come back to, oh no, they should have TV because they can't control it. I don't know
Right.
if you've heard that opinion
No, I
recently.
haven't. Yeah. Like I said before, I did no research for this conversation. Um, and I haven't really noticed any, like, all the conversations that I have with parents about screen time is kind of like, well, I know they shouldn't, but,
Mhm.
or I know she watches too much TV or whatever it is. But no, I haven't heard that about the apps versus the uncontrollable TV.
Right. Yeah. The idea is they can keep scrolling through the apps infinitely, but the TV, you put on an episode, you
Right.
finish the episode. And so I can see the appeal of that. But I also wonder, and again, this is just me posing more research questions basically because I couldn't find anything on this. I've seen in my nephew who's 11, right? He finds a video about something and then he seeks out more videos about this topic and he becomes really informed on something.
Right.
And I think the fact that we're discounting children's intellectual curiosity plays a pretty significant role in this.
Yeah. I can, yeah, I get that too. Actually, just last night I was having dinner with our in-laws and my sister-in-law and her two kids who are teenagers now. And we were talking about how, like, the algorithm of like social media and YouTube, since they're so similar with like the reels and shorts and things like that, um, it it just caters to what you're watching. And so, like, there can be that level of like, well, I'm not getting exposed to other things to learn about, do I like other things, you know?
Right.
So I feel like, yeah, if you're using it as a tool to like get information about something, then I think it is a positive thing. But if you're just doom scrolling as a
Right.
4-year-old, which is what Francis ends up doing on YouTube, we let him touch the screen. Um,
Right. Well, it's funny that you brought up adult screen behavior too, like doom scrolling, because that was the other thing that there was a lot more research on than I thought there would be. But
mm,
so much of what's detrimental to children is when we adults tune them out in favor of our phones.
yeah.
And there's an article called Parental Phubbing, and it just got me like straight through the gut because like, oh, I have done that and it's not great.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't think it's a new phenomenon, right? Like, wasn't it a trope, what, 60 years ago? The dad sitting at the table reading the newspaper, just nodding, uh-huh, whatever, uh-huh, go ahead, go play.
Yeah. And I even, I try to think about my own childhood and, like we had TV and video games and not really that. I mean, we didn't have the internet in my home until I was in high school. Um, but like, we had dinner together as a family, but then other than that, like I was on my own.
Right.
So, like, um, I guess I didn't have the dad with the newspaper ignoring his kid, but um, yeah, it's hard as a mom, it's hard to, especially as a mom who's a caregiver, I feel like it's
Yeah.
hard for me to get a break and be with my kid at the same time. Like at the end of the day, like I do want to just like zone out and
Yeah.
not be responsible for anything, even though I need to be.
Right. Yeah, and it's an interesting sense, right, of who gets the break and when do you get the break and how do you get the break and what can you do that's not going to permanently screw up your kid that a generation ago was not even called into question.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's kind of this idea. I don't know if you're familiar with the idea of the third wave of technology that we're in right now.
No.
It's basically technology is so ubiquitous. Sorry, I totally sprang that on you. That is not a thing that I was familiar with until I was reading for this. Um, but it's the idea that everything in our lives is so dependent on technology. If you're going to set up a play date, you're going to text a parent or call a parent to your phone.
Yeah.
The phone is omnipresent. The smartwatch is omnipresent. You could theoretically completely avoid it, but it's really, really difficult to just be in the year 2026 without this background of connectedness.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be a bad thing, but it is something to be aware of that it's just the medium that's changing. And because the medium is changing to become more connected, we're also opening ourselves and our children up to this really broad reach of capitalism and these apps that are marketed and
Yeah.
rely on eyeballs and attention at all times to keep children, to keep adults, to keep everybody glued to it to get those sweet advertising dollars in and perpetuate the cycle.
Yes.
So it's just adding this extra depth because on one hand, you and I are on opposite sides of the country. We can talk. We texting and messaging fairly frequently because we have this great tool in our pocket that lets us do that.
Right.
And using that very same device, we're up at 3 a.m. reading about nuclear policies and Iran and being sold face creams that will take our minds off of it because we'll feel so great about ourselves. So
Yeah.
maybe I shouldn't have used the plural in that. Like maybe that was just me.
No, no. How did you know what I was doing last night? Yeah, it is. I mean, I don't know if we're doing it the right way, but I feel like, I mean, my son watches TV. That happens. But
Mhm.
like he doesn't have his own tablet to
Mhm.
do whatever he wants to on it. Um, and I feel like for us, that's like a happy medium of like, yeah, when all the kids get picked up from daycare at the end of the day, me, my husband, and my son, we all sit on the couch and we watch cartoons for a while.
Yeah.
Just for like, he's been at school all day. He needs to just decompress and not be on. And I feel like I don't feel bad about that. I don't feel bad about letting him have some time to watch his shows. And then once we've all like sort of gotten our relaxation on for a bit, then we can come back together and like be a family and do things together. Um, And definitely,
Right.
he was sick a while ago. We were all sick. And um, it just happened that the tablet, like my iPad came out and he was able to watch YouTube on it. And like, that's when we noticed, like, again, like all these behaviors that had sort of gone away since we had done like a, a big YouTube ban, like they had come back. And Sunday night, I'm like, so we're cutting YouTube again, right? We're not doing this. It got us through being sick, but now we need to get back to real life.
That's so interesting. Yeah. And oh, actually, that reminds me of a point that I wanted to make that I wrote out really eloquently and then I left my written notes elsewhere. So I'm going to attempt to recreate this. But really, like at the heart of what I'm trying to do with this podcast in particular is give a research base, but also know that research is generalized. It's generally among either a lot of people if it's quantitative or one or two people if it's qualitative, right? It's looking at individual experiences and large group experiences. And if those don't resonate with your lived experience and the children in your life, it's okay to not do that, right?
Yeah.
If we're talking about, some amount of devices being positive in our lives, and there's a research base for like this Goldilocks effect of, yeah, some connected time is actually good, creates positive cognitive growth, etc. But man, that is not possible for your family or your childcare program, which is another distinction that I want to make. Yeah, no, drop it. If you're not seeing good things happening, that is a data point for you.
Yeah.
And that's the other piece of this, right? As a parent, screen time versus in a childcare program
Yeah.
and the higher level of intentionality that goes with sharing media to a group of children that are not yours and your own child or children.
Yeah. Um, so this year my son's in full-time preschool, and last year he was home with me full-time. And it was very hard not to do TV when my son was home because it's his home. Like on the weekend, he gets to watch TV. Like we're definitely a Saturday morning cartoon family. um, and so it was definitely easier for me as a mom and childcare provider to be like, okay, I'll put on, I had my certain set of shows that we could only watch, but like I'll put on a show while I'm making lunch
Mm-hmm.
because it will keep my son from complaining to me and keep everybody in one space, that sort of thing. But, before I was a mom, like there was no TV in my
Yeah.
program. Um, we'd look up if we were interested in something, I'd look up a video about whales or whatever topic, came up in the day or, um, but like, we might have like a once every couple of months we'd watch a TV show for somebody got stung by a bee and we all just need to like cuddle on the couch together or whatever it is. And for me, it wasn't even that like I mean, I guess I've always sort of felt like the less screen time the better, right? Like I mean for everything
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of that's a good rule of thumb, right? But but I also didn't want to do screen time in my program because I didn't want parents to feel guilty about having to use the TV when they got home from work and needed 30 minutes to rest and needed 30 more minutes to make dinner. Like
Mm-hmm.
like I didn't want parents to feel judged for being like, well, yeah, my kid watched TV all last night and then they're watching TV all day at my house. Like that doesn't.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's what's good over the course of, what's best for the child over the course of the day or the week or the month, right? It's
Yeah.
not yeah, no, I'm fully with you. When I was doing family childcare, it was very similar use. I remember there was a big interest in eggs one spring, and there was a video of snakes hatching from eggs that was just fascinating. So we were watching that
Yeah.
with great frequency. But,
Yeah.
it's a 2-minute time lapse video of like 5 snake eggs hatching.
Right.
And then there were, when I was doing in centers, there were some math games that we were encouraged to use. So we did some of those.
Yeah.
But it was in the same vein, it was intentional. It was very short periods, and it was like pre-planned. It wasn't just like, oh, you're driving me crazy, like take this. It was an
Right. Yeah.
intentional piece of the program. Um, and then, as a parent, it's different, right? I need to make dinner. I do not need to make dinner at the center. I need to make lunch during family childcare, but those are mostly pre-data. It was just a matter of forming them up and taking them out, that kind of thing. Right. So it's just a different layer of responsibility to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I'm curious, this is a little bit of a tangent. Your take on um, like the YouTube videos where it's a person reading a book versus other YouTube videos,
Um,
or engagement with actual books and people.
yeah. So I don't really do those. I don't really see the appeal. Um, just for the fact that like I have a really large library, personal library, and like I always am going to the library and getting books and we're always reading. Um, there are the one that comes to mind is We're Going on a Bear Hunt, which
Mhm.
is wildly some book that I've never had a copy of. Um, but randomly kids will, have heard it and bring it up while, we're together in care. And like it's like they're reading the book, but like it's sort of like stop animation of
Yeah,
the
I know
book.
the exact video you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know why that's the one that like randomly, you know, um, but no, we don't actually like I've never done the books, just reading the books.
I've done a few of them, but I think I have the same gut reaction to them of that lack of right when you're reading the book, the children are responding and talking to you and interacting and engaging in ways that they just can't with the screen.
Yeah.
And then I was looking at this line between, oh, this title is a mouthful. The relationship between language and technology, how screen time affects language development in early life, a systematic review. Uh, but it's talking about the difference between passive screen time, where there's no physical involvement, or extensive expenditure of cognitive resources. And the individual does not interact with the screen. And this is, for example, watching television. And then in active screen time, greater use of cognitive and physical resources. And so I'm wondering, so in this article, I don't know that they teased out very extensively what they call extensive expenditure of cognitive resources, because I think that can go so many different ways based on the individual, right? There are absolutely things that I will, you could sit me in front of a physics video and I could tune into the first 15, 20 seconds and
Right.
cease expenditure of cognitive resources. Whereas there are other people who could actually engage with it and really benefit from it. So I kind of wonder what we as adults are seeing and what the children are getting from it in that way. Like it's hard to measure the cognitive resources used in real time, right? You might find out a week later when they're like, hey, remember that book, that one page where they're zoomed in on that tiny part of an illustration that was in the video that you missed, but
Yeah.
they were fully engaged with it versus not.
Yeah. Um, it's interesting that bringing that up because like so I like am part of our like quality rating program for
Mhm.
licensing. And one of the things you had to do was have a screen time policy that talked about how you interacted with the video. Um, and I feel like I don't know. Okay, I'm trying to make sense of my thoughts right now. So like I feel like there's two sides where there's like I'm absolutely okay with just watching TV. Like I don't think TV shows for children need to be educational. I think they need to be well done with good art and a good storyline and just be interesting, right? If I don't want to watch
Mhm.
it, I don't want a kid to watch it, basically. Um, and so I'm not going to sit there while we're watching, you know, Lucas the Spider or Bluey and be like, "Oh, what's that color?" Like I don't know
Right.
what they want us to do with TV. Um, and I feel like I don't even know if this is where you were going, but it's like reading a book, watching a book being read on the screen takes away from all of the interaction that you have together. Like it's hard. I don't know. Like I feel like it's a very like individual experience. Like afterwards you can like talk about what you watched and what you noticed. But like
Right.
I don't even know if any of this is making sense. I'm sorry.
No, it totally is.
Good.
I'm following.
Um yeah, I just
Right.
feel like we don't know what's going on in other people's brains, right?
Hmm.
We're talking about it.
Right. And there's this element of like optimizing childhood
Right.
that feels, I mean, I don't think we generally apply it to ourselves in the same way, right? Like there's, I'm allowed to have downtime and sit and watch like something ridiculous,
Right. Like
but a child can't.
right. Like I'm only going to watch the History Channel because I need to better myself. No,
I'm in
I'm
decline. He's the future. This is totally
yeah.
different.
Um yeah, like I think I don't know. I think it's okay just to enjoy something and not have it be for any great benefit for the future.
Right. And there's, I mean, I'm always terrified of being misinterpreted, so I'm going to over clarify here. But like, not beneficial is very different than harmful, right? Like if you look at a lot of the older studies on children's aggression after watching, I think there was one about Power Rangers. They watched Power Rangers, they were more likely to kick, and it's like, well, duh. Uh, but they were calling that aggressive behavior because, like, technically, sure, kicking is aggressive, but when you're mimicking a Power Ranger, it's a little bit different than just kicking someone because you're mad at them.
Yeah.
But it's is what they're enjoying developmentally appropriate for that child? Is it, violence in a way that is detriment? Like, I'll be honest, I don't actually like any of the really fighty shows. In theory, I am more or less okay with them at some point in the elementary years, but I actually don't super like them. But it's that matter of what's appropriate versus the kids who come in having watched, The Walking Dead.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. I was a Power Rangers kid and I am nonviolent.
Right.
So I turned out okay. Not that it's I suffered through it, so it's okay for kids. But yeah, that is interesting. Like, I mean, just with my son, like there is evidence of, like I said, like watching certain YouTube types of shows and his behavior after. Um, but I don't know. Like you said earlier, like that's not to say that another kid couldn't watch the same show and not be affected the same way.
Right.
Uh,
And then
still don't think anybody should watch Blippi, but
I'm
that's a
with
different
you.
show.
There's an article I should send you later, actually, once I find it about
Good.
Blippi being like in a like solipsistic hellscape. But um,
Yeah.
but that does kind of lead to the big overarching theme here, which is when you look at who's using screen time, right? Which children have the most exposure and which children are most impacted by it. The singular um, demographic variable that is consistently correlated with screen time is income. It was actually really striking in the campaign for commercial free childhood. Oh no, sorry, Common Sense Media key findings from their 2025 the Common Sense census media used by kids 0 to 8. So children 0 to 8 in families making less than $50,000 a year use twice as much screen time as children in families making more than $100,000 per year. So we can't just blanket say screen time is harmful without
Yeah.
examining these much larger cultural issues of, well, who gets to go out and have a park pass to, who can pay $20 to go park and hike at the beach, right?
Yeah.
Who's able to get out and do non-screen things? Who is in a neighborhood where they can safely be outside with other kids for hours at a time?
Yeah. That is just, I mean, it's not shocking to me when I think about it, but I've literally never thought about that. Um, because it's just that's not a part that's spoken out loud. The part spoken out loud is screen time is bad. Screen
Right.
time does this and that, but not all the other factors that contribute to more screen time.
Right. Yeah. And it's just so, I don't know, because when I was first looking into it, I really thought there was going to be a thing about tablets, right? Or a thing, because
Yeah.
there seems to be this cultural move towards like the next playground and Tony boxes and things that are not a screen. They're still electronics, they're still
Right.
engaging, but they're not a screen. And I was like, that was my initial question because conceptually Tony boxes bother me, but that is a me thing. I'm sure they were fine. Um, but I thought there was truly going to be something about the distance, right? How you're not actually in the same room as a person. You can't reach out and hug them. And there is that. But it's so hard to disentangle this screen time from lack of other resources,
Yeah.
right? Just observationally, when I was at the pediatrician's office with one of my kids the other day, there was a parent sitting there with their 1 or 2 year old, and I'm making as few assumptions as possible about this parent, but they were sitting there with their toddler on the phone talking to another parent about like how amazing this app was because their 2 year old could name all their colors and a bunch of letters.
Right.
And like, yeah, if that's what you have to educate your child, if that's what you have to expose them to the world, then that's a tool in your toolbox that you should be using. Um, Not that colors and letters are the hallmarks of education, but if
Right.
you're a parent who doesn't have an educational background and you're sitting there going, man, look at my toddler know all these colors and letters, like that's great. There's nothing wrong with that, you know? So it's I'm broadly concerned about screen time being used as just not wanting to say the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
We don't have the social safety net. We don't have the ability to take kids place a lot of places without spending money. And even getting out of the house costs money, your gas or a bus ticket, or if you have public transportation, right? It's
Right.
all this trade-off of sorts. And so when there are people whose best resource is the one that we are saying now is terrible, when we were growing up, it was the very privileged kids who would like type their term papers in middle school, right?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
now it's just like, oh, it's not the computers of the future. They're already here and we hate them now
Right. Yeah.
because now everyone has access to them. So it feels like there's an element of classism embedded in it.
Right. I definitely think so. And I mean like I see the privilege of just like in my own family, like um my son has two parents and he has um neighbors behind us with kids the same age and all of our family lives close. So like we have a lot of chances as adults to have breaks.
Yeah.
And then my son's birth mom is a single mom and his younger sister watches a lot of TV because that's how, her mom gets breaks is to to put the TV on and not even get breaks, but like get dishes done, do laundry, just all the things that like she doesn't have somebody to trade off with. Like that's a huge privilege. And we've even had that conversation with her. We're of course, of course she's going to watch TV, and she plays and whatever. But, you've got to have, if you don't have the privilege of another adult in the home, and
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big resource that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's right. And it's cute when we as upper middle class people can say things like, oh, well, but there's the Tony, there's this other product. Sorry, I keep harping on the Tony. There's
What's your
this
problem?
screen-free alternative.
Tell me your problem with Tony's.
It's the same lack of engagement and interaction that we have with every other electronic media. They're
Yeah.
not getting anything better out of it than they are out of
Yeah.
like an episode of Paw Patrol. There's no engagement.
Yeah. So I will say we don't have a Tony. We have a Yodo. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Yeah.
And we definitely have both sides of the Yodo. We have Francis is really into Pokemon, so we have cards that are just Pokemon stories being read.
Mhm.
And he puts that on when we say no, we're not watching TV anymore. And it's just his background noise, right?
Mhm.
And then there are some he was really into there was a whole dinosaur series, and he was really into dinosaurs, and he learned a lot of facts about dinosaurs, and I mean we extended that beyond just listening,
Mhm.
but I don't always do that. But
And even if you hadn't, it's fine. But again, it's conceptually the same as finding a YouTube video about a thing he's interested in. And I say that as a
right.
child who lived for my Teddy Ruxpin when I was Francis' age. So
Right.
same concept.
Yeah. 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 And
For
again,
Gen Z, Teddy Ruxpin was a teddy bear you put cassette tapes in his back and he'd tell you stories, and it was the best.
I never had one. We were way too poor for that. So I just got to dream about it from seeing the
Aw.
commercials for Gen Z.
Right. No. Those are coming back. Those are coming back.
Yeah, they are coming back. Yeah,
Yeah.
talking about screen time before you think about it, it seems like a easier, and like I said, just the way that the official they who is talking about the research, it just
Right.
screen time's bad. But it's messy.
Right. And it all gets flattened to these sensationalized headlines that either willfully or not misinterpret a lot of what's being said, which is it's a mixed bag. It's true. There are, especially with emotion regulation, which you didn't really touch on. If you're handing your child a tablet when they're having a tantrum and that calms them, believe it or not, in 5 years, pretty bad effects on their emotion regulation skills.
Yeah.
But it would be the same if you were handing them a bag of M&Ms every time they threw a tantrum. It was just, if you're not teaching your children emotion regulation, then they don't learn emotion regulation. And so screen time just ends up being this additional intermediary that gets thrown under the bus.
Yeah. So is screen time bad? Do I
Wait,
need
you asked me to make a declaration here? This
I
is not what
am.
the show is.
I thought you were going to give me answers. I thought that's why you invited me.
No. I present questions. I do some reading. I tell you what people say.
Oh,
Uh, so here, you know what? I'll give an absolute declaration. Fully unexamined, unaltered screen time, probably bad.
okay.
Look over your kid's shoulder once in a while. Have a conversation about media literacy. Introduce the idea of, hey, who's profiting from all these ads about XYZ? Or, gosh, it's a lot of
Yeah.
cops in your TV shows. Wonder why.
Yeah. I can't remember what we were watching, but the whole time I just kept yelling, propaganda, propaganda. And Francis is like, what's propaganda? I'm like, well, listen, it's learning time now.
Right. Oh man, I am going to close out with the evidence that I am not a perfect screen time parent, which I texted you. I wasn't sure if I was going to include this, but I will be. It is currently the end of February. It is Lent, and my husband and son went to get their ashes for Ash Wednesday because they are Catholic and I'm not. And so they were talking about, giving something up for Lent. And my husband kind of floated the idea of, he could give up Star Wars and my son could give up Paw Patrol. And he was not on board with Paw Patrol. And then the next day we were talking about it. And he said, I could give up my Nana and Tata for 40, my grandparents for 40 days. So
was that the decision? You're not seeing family?
shockingly, kind of had a whole, I don't interfere with Catholicism, he doesn't interfere with Judaism. I did cut that one off. Especially since we were on our way to see his grandparents at that moment.
Oh, I love kids.
Relationships, just make sure they're with humans sometimes.
Yes, occasionally.
Well, listeners, I hope you enjoyed hearing that screen time is maybe not as bad as you thought, or maybe it's just as bad as you thought, or who knows how you came into the conversation. But Bethany, thank you for your time. It was good talking to you.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.